Do you want to get your business in front of over 100,000 viewers every month? Advertise with 321 and enjoy the best value in local advertising while supporting free community live streams. Your message will be seen across live high school sports, morning shows, and local events, connecting you directly with engaged audiences, boosting your visibility, growing your brand, and helping us keep these broadcasts accessible to everyone for free. Partner with 321 today and watch your business thrive. Leadership is practiced, not attained. That is the subject of today's Mindset Mastery with Paulie G from Westerly. Paul, how are you?
Ben, I'm doing really well.
Yeah?
It's just it's a pleasure to be here to talk about what we're going to be talking about, because I think it's going to help not only us but our audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I came in with a notebook today.
I saw that.
And I did that purposely because I didn't know what the actual premise of the show was going to be today. So I went to one, this is my quote journal. I write all my quotes in it. Just so everyone knows, this is going to be extinct very soon.
Why?
Because I'm going to combine it all into one journal.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's because when I die, people are going to be fighting for these things.
For sure.
It's like the Holy Grail. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You just get the Holy Grail. It's the one thing. That's what it is. It's not different pieces and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you picked a date, and it was after the date of June 5th of 23 is when I started this particular journal. And you picked October 6th, 2023.
Yes.
And
my 36th birthday.
Oh, that's your birthday, 10/6.
Yeah.
36th birthday. So it's going to be 38. You're already 38.
I'm 37.
Well, your 36th birthday was 10/6/23.
Yeah.
Oh, 25. You'll
Yeah.
be 38.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a great mathematician.
That's all right. Nobody asked you to be.
Thank God for that.
I know, right?
So one of the quotes in this journal for the day was, leadership is practiced in attitude and actions. And I didn't want that to be the title of the show, because leadership is something that you do practice. And a good leader is one that other people look up to. But a great leader is one that gets people to look up to themselves.
Right.
So to bring out the best in you, myself, this person, that person, that's a true leader. And I think we can see that with some polarizing figures in our history. Right above this quote, Ben, was, if you really want to do something, and I didn't give it justice. It means if you really emotionally, passionately want to do something, you're gonna do it. You're gonna work hard to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're is hell bent a word?
Yeah. If
you're hell bent on doing something, you're gonna do it, whether it's good or whether it's bad. You know.
Yep.
And this quote here is attributed to Sir Edmund Hillary, who was the person that was, I guess, the first person on top of the world, right? In 1953, he and his Sherpa, I forget his name, he always gets a bad rap. He climbed up there.
I know, and that's what I'm like. And
isn't that
Sherpa
stink?
Probably did it first.
The Sherpa was the guide. He was the guide.
If someone was the guide, they've probably done it like.
Well, they have maybe more experience, but they tried it in 51.
Okay.
And they failed.
I just imagine the Sherpa like going all the way to the very top, except for like the last 5 steps. And he's like, all right, bud, you go do it. You go do it. You go do it so you can plant the flag,
So anyhow, they tried in 51. They weren't able to head turn back. Same thing happened again in 52. In 1953, people were worried that he was on a suicide mission, because it's just not something you can do. You can't climb to the top of Mount Everest. It's impossible. You tried it 2 years in a row and it didn't work. So just, cut your losses. He didn't matter to him and the guide. And they did it. They reached the top of Everest. And I was watching a movie on Mount Everest the past couple of nights. And I say the past couple of nights because I can't watch a 2-hour movie in one sitting. I fall asleep. But that's beside the point. When it comes to climbing Mount Everest, the challenge is when you get to that death zone, which is about 29,000 feet, so maybe from about 20,000 to 29,000, the conditions are so debilitating, not just from an oxygen standpoint, but from a motion and physicality standpoint. It's almost like you're in molasses. People lose, Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can definitely hear that.
Some hirings. We got to make a little sign of the cross there for the people that may be in trouble.
Yep.
So having said this death zone of Mount Everest, the issue is that it just all comes together in a bad way, debilitating on your body, your mind, and also on your physical, on your lungs. Just being able to do that. So that's why I say to most people, or I tell people that climbing Mount Everest and those that have died doing so are generally on the way down. Because once you enter that death zone, you reach the top in elation. And then you're like, all right, now we just got to get back down. And you're not as focused as paying attention, but you're also still having to get past that death zone down here. And that's where some of them can succumb to this.
For sure.
This is our life, Ben. This is your life, my life. Whatever we want in life, we have to get through that death zone. Now, it may not be literal, maybe figurative, but we still need to get through something. We need to get through that hump. And if we don't have emotion and we don't have passion in our lives, we're not going to get there nearly to what we want to accomplish. So I'm going to take a sip of water. What
is that water? What is the?
It was green iced tea from a potential client.
Shout out to Stick and Fin.
Yeah.
So, okay, I love the premise of leadership is practice, not attained. Like, I think that anything. It's kind of like anything, right? Like you need to, like, the destination is the journey, not like, or happiness is whatever,
right.
Is the journey, not the destination. Like you have to, you'll never be the perfect leader. Like you always have to grow. You always have to continue
like success
doing stuff.
As well. You could say leadership, success, any of that.
Yeah. It's an ongoing thing. There's no perfect, there's no end game. And that I think is something that people need to focus on more. Like it's a constantly evolving situation.
Right. And I think what people need to focus on more, every single audience member that's listening to this right now is a leader in some shape or form, whether they're a parent, whether they're a spouse, whether they're at work, whatever position they have there. We all have to lead at some point. And the best leaders in this world were great followers, and that's the thing. So right now you may be following so you can lead. I look at it as my mental health. I wouldn't be a great advocate or leader for mental health in 2018 when I was living in a psychiatric institution. I just wouldn't, because I was living it. I was going through the challenge of it. But after having experienced it and having to deal with challenges with my mental health, for me, it's bipolar. So there can be a number of things there, but I don't research that and focus on that. I focus on how I can get better. And one of the things for me with being diagnosed with bipolar to get better was to give up drinking alcohol. I didn't want to do that. I didn't. I really didn't. You know, it
Yeah.
was 2020. I was going to make soupy in Barrington, my friend from Westerly, Andy Preet. And I was at his house, and my wife said, "Make sure you don't drink," because her concern was you're taking psychiatric medicine, and it becomes ineffective. The
Yep.
efficacy is slowly worn off on that. And I remember getting a little thing of wine and sipping it, and also remembering getting a text from her saying, "Are you drinking?" I'm like, "Is there cameras around here?" I'm like, "I'm not drinking, Betty." And I put down the half. Was it half drink, half
sure.
half drink, whatever you want to
Yeah.
say, glass of wine, and I just never touched it the rest of the night. We made the soupy, we made some other things, and that was the last time I drank. You know, at that point, and again, it was no milestone achievement, but it was an achievement because it can get me to where I need to be with my mental health.
Yeah.
You know, so now at Joe Blow's birthday party, my wife doesn't have to worry about me getting off the rails, you know, and wondering what's going to happen in a certain respect. And nor do I.
Right.
You know, and it was, I remember saying to myself as a young adult, I don't know how anyone could give up drinking. Because for me, especially tailgating, whether it's a concert, whether it was a sporting event,
Yeah.
tailgating by far was the best recreational drinking activity ever. Now, tailgating is the best recreational activity. I just don't include drinking.
Yeah.
And I still meet people, still talk with people, still eat and still have fun. I just don't get a little bananas.
Honestly, I think, you know, if I've ever met somebody that doesn't need coffee and doesn't need alcohol, it's you. I very similarly didn't so I went on anxiety meds in 2023, and I was like, okay, well, I'll never have a drink again. And it wasn't like a big deal to
Right.
me. I just was like, okay, well, like, I'll stop. And they were like, you could have like a beer. And I was like, no, I didn't want to go on the meds in the first place. Cause I was like, you know,
That was my struggle.
I'm very like in my own head about that stuff.
Yep.
And I was just like, no, I mean, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So like, I haven't had a drink. I did actually. I had a beer on New Year. I mean, on Christmas this year at my girlfriend's aunt's house.
Okay.
That was the first one in 3 years, and it was never a problem for me.
Why did you have it? Just curious.
I wanted it.
You did. So you craved it.
Like it was just it was a fun night, and I was like, let's take a Corona. That's fine.
It was a Corona?
Yeah. Which I don't even
that's
like.
Got Mexican roots.
Yeah. Which I don't like. I don't really like
You don't
Corona.
like Corona?
I don't like beer. I don't like alcohol in general.
That's weird that you took that then.
Yeah. I just was like, I'll do it. I'll have a drink. I was having a good time. I was relaxed. I was like, I'll do it. You know, occasionally, here and there. But occasionally here and there was the first time in a year, or almost 3 years.
Yeah.
No, sorry, almost
2 years.
2 years, almost 2
23.
years. Yep, almost 2 years. But I also didn't really drink for the 2 years before 2023. Like,
no, right?
I
yeah.
didn't.
So there was never any issue.
So it was never
right.
I never had an alcohol problem.
Yeah.
At all. But I was just very easily like, no, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't like feeling out of control. Like in any way, shape, or form. That's a big anxiety trigger for me, is not feeling in control of my own body or mind or actions.
Then. That's the deterrent then of drinking alcohol to excess.
Yeah. So I don't want to drink. I don't want to smoke. I don't want to take anything with cannabis. Like I don't.
Yeah, I've never done that.
I like being in full control of my faculties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's it. And in the same way of like my anxiety triggers. Like sometimes I'll get anxiety during a show. Like if I know that I'm locked in for 2 hours on a show and I can't do anything,
Or you're with me.
or I'm with you, just in general, very loud.
Loud, obnoxious.
I'll get anxiety, and like it'll trigger a panic attack. Sometimes it was a big deal driving on the highway for me for a little while.
Yeah.
Because when you're in that flow of traffic and you can't do anything about it, you're like, well, I can't get out of this right now. You know what I mean? Ironically, I did a really nice job on the Merritt Parkway last year.
Route 8.
Which was insane to me because...
Route 15.
Yeah, Route 15. Because after, as I'm on the Merritt Parkway, I'm like, the speed of traffic is 90.
Oh, it's crazy. It's like the Autobahn.
Yeah, I was like, the speed, like the flow of traffic right now is 90. It's narrow. There's no trucks, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's narrow. Everybody's flying. And it's like, it's kind of hilly as well. Like, it's not the straightest of routes.
Right.
But I was like,
beautiful in the fall.
I was okay. We did it in April. We went to a memorial service in Greenwich last year for Jackie's cousin.
Okay.
And
so you were okay with that?
Yeah. What's funny though is that
you said you had some anxiety.
Well, I have anxiety on the highway in general.
Oh, okay.
And so in 2022, I had a panic attack driving to Cranston, and I got off and I didn't go on the highway for another 2 years.
Oh my goodness.
Almost. Yeah. It got to the point where my therapist was like, go you know how exit 1 to exit 93 is 700 feet.
Exit 93.
Exit 93 in Connecticut.
Oh, and yes.
Exit 1 in Rhode Island to exit 93 in Connecticut is
not even half a mile.
Not even half a mile. So it was literally my homework was, I told him I thought that was a good idea. So my homework was to drive down to exit 1, get on the highway, go to exit 93, get off.
I like that.
Half a mile.
Yeah.
The first time I tried to do it, I used to have a Fitbit that I wore religiously. The first time I did it, as I approached the park and ride by exit 1 in Ashaway, I looked down, my heart rate was 134.
Holy cow, that's a treadmill, for crying out loud.
I was like, I'm so anxious about this.
Goodness.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so anxious about this. So I freaked out, and then I turned around and came home. But I was like, I eventually did it. I eventually, whatever. But what's funny is,
I think you're downplaying the solution.
Okay. What's the solution?
Well, because you're like, yeah, I eventually did it. And
no. So I eventually did it. Well, I eventually was like, all right, let me get some anxiety meds. And some stuff for panic attacks. And then so I eventually just did it. I went back and tried it again, and I did it, and it was okay. And then I eventually did exit 1 to exit 3, that to Richmond.
What was exit 3?
What? Yeah, exit 7 now. Me too.
If you told me exit 7, I don't know where you are.
Coventry, I think.
That's where I thought.
Where I think you are. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But not now.
To the Richmond exit.
Okay.
And then so I didn't want to go through New Haven. Going to New Haven was, and I was once in the ICU.
That's a challenge.
I was once in the ICU at Yale for H1N1 in 2009, which is where all of my panic attacks started.
As a patient?
I had a trachea. Do you know that I have a trach? That I had a trach?
Oh no.
Yeah. So I was on a ventilator.
Holy cow.
We
got a little show and tell here as well. This is great.
So I should put myself on camera for that. So
let me take off my pants. Hang on a second.
No. Nope. So anyway, I have this lovely scar right here.
That's a good scar.
Yeah.
H1N1.
So H1N1, I had the COVID horror story before COVID. In 2009, I was directing a show at Westerly High School.
Yeah. And
some kids got sick and decided to come do the show anyway. and one of the kids that was sick came over and gave me a hug
Oh
afterwards.
boy, yeah.
And then I got H1N1, and I did not have health insurance at the time. I was 22, and
That's a challenge.
yep, I was 22. It was before the ACA got passed. I did not have health insurance. I did not go to the doctor for 2 weeks with the flu. And then when I finally went to the doctors, went to the ER. They immediately put me in the ICU in like a quarantine room.
In Yale?
Yeah. No, at Wesley Hospital. It was Halloween. It was Halloween
09?
09, Halloween 09. I was watching Pedro Martinez in the World Series for the Phillies, I think. And I don't even remember. I think it was Phillies, Yankees. I'm not sure.
Mets.
I don't know. And I crashed that night. And
When you say crashed,
I went to the bathroom, and then I could not make it back to the bed.
Physically
could not make it back to the bed, and like hit the call button. And then I woke up on November 15th. So it was Halloween, and I woke
Holy
up
cow, that's 2 weeks in a coma?
Yep. So I woke up on November 15th in Yale, and I had been on a ventilator the entire time. And
that's why you had the tracheotomy.
So after 2 weeks, they have to replace the breathing tube. And so they decided to replace it and give me a trach because I was so young that they weren't just going to let me die.
Yeah.
So they gave me a trach, and they left me on the ventilator. And when I woke up, they were like, "You're in Yale.
They transferred you.
You've been in a coma for 2 weeks, a drug-induced coma, like a medical coma, and medically induced coma, not drug-induced. I didn't take drugs.
Well, it's the same thing.
And they were like, your kidneys failed. You're on dialysis.
Oh my goodness gracious!
You have a trach. You'll probably have a trach forever. You are on dialysis. You'll probably be on dialysis. You're young, so your kidneys will probably come back, but you'll be on dialysis for a couple years. And you're going to stay in Yale. You'll probably be here until February-ish. And then we'll expect for you to be able to go back to Westerly. And then you'll probably be in Westerly for a couple more months after that.
Oh my goodness.
And then you'll probably be home by the summer. This is November.
That's what they said.
Yeah, this is November 15th, 2009.
So, thinking the fact that you have no health insurance, that's probably like a $23 bill at that point.
Like $1 million in medical debt.
Well, it's got to be easy.
No, it's literally $1 million in medical debt. So anyway, so
you consume all of this.
So I consume all of that.
All this information.
Now miraculously, I was off of dialysis that Saturday. So that was Sunday. Sunday was the 15th. That was the day they let me wake up. The 16th was the day that they told me everything.
Oh.
Which was Monday. By Wednesday, I was able to pass a swallow test to be able to eat food because I had a feeding tube and stuff. By Saturday, I was able to walk around the ICU on my own, which they thought was crazy. And then because they were like, "You've been asleep for 2 weeks, you're gonna have lost all of your muscle mass." Didn't happen. I was fine. And Saturday was my last dialysis, so I was only on dialysis for a week. And then I spent 10 days in the ICU in Yale, and I was back on November 24th, 2009. I was back in Westerly the night before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So they said it was going to be February before I was back in Westerly.
Yeah.
I was back the day before Thanksgiving, and I was home December 4th. And they took the trach out right after Christmas. So I was fine. But so I'm like, oh, cool. Like I have this like new lease on life. I'm great, right? All of this stuff is great. By like mid-January, I was like, I'm having panic attacks.
Okay, so
I'm having panic attacks.
that's with the anxiety.
My hair's falling out. Like
Wow.
yeah, it was, well, my hair was falling out because I had a big lack of magnesium and potassium.
Is it difficult telling the story as far as temperament wise, anxiety wise?
No,
It's not. Okay.
no. Sometimes telling the story helps with anxiety. Like sometimes if I'm having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, saying like,
Talking about it.
yeah, saying like, I'm so sorry, I'm having a panic attack. I had a near death experience in 2009, and then I was okay.
Sure.
I did years and years and years of work on myself, and then my parents died within 3 months of each other during COVID. Like so, and then it all came rushing back. So, and that's what happened, by the way. So from 09 to 2012, I was in hell. Couldn't do anything, couldn't function.
Sure, I would imagine.
And then from mid 2012 to 2020, I was doing well, mostly well. I had little spurts of anxiety, but I was doing mostly well. And then, and in 2011, I was diagnosed with PTSD. And then I was doing mostly well. And then in 2020, lockdowns, COVID, my parents in the hospital,
right.
My parents
Both
in the nursing home.
Year.
Yep. So January 2020, my parents go into the hospital for separate reasons. My mom,
both in January.
Yep. My mom had developed Lewy body dementia, and my dad had probably COVID, honestly, in January 2020.
Right, you wouldn't know until March.
Yep. So my dad had probably COVID and was on a ventilator in Westerly, and my mom was in a psychiatric ward in Providence with being diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. And I couldn't tell my mom that my dad was dying because she wasn't in a state of mind. So I had to lie to her, and it was crazy. And then they both ended up okay. And the night before Valentine's Day 2020, they went to they ended up in the Clipper nursing home together. But then so March, 5 years ago to this week, they were in the nursing home together during lockdown, and and then that's where they stayed. And then he died in August, and she died Christmas morning. Yeah. And I held it together incredibly well during all of that. I think I had my first panic attack. He died on the Sunday before the Washington County Fair. Okay. And I was the director, producer, video editor, host of the virtual Washington County Fair.
Oh, really?
So I had like 120 hours of work that week doing all of that, hosting, directing, producing, everything, editing all of the videos. And he died on Sunday, and then it was, okay, you have 120 hours worth of work in the next 7 days ahead of you. And so I just did all of it. And by the end of the Washington County Fair, I was having a panic attack, but I was okay. And then I was okay for the next couple of months. And then after my mom died, I still held it together decently well. And then in that week in between Christmas and New Year's, just had the worst panic attack of my life.
Really?
Yeah. And then after that.
Well, that's because your mom and dad are both. You know, I mean, it's kind of hitting you at that point.
Yep. And then it was just since in the last 5 years since then, it's been hit or miss with anxiety and panic attacks. From that. So anytime I'm not in full control, that's where this whole thing started. Anytime I'm not in full control of a situation, so I don't want to drink, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to take edibles, I don't want to do anything like that, because I there's so many things in life that I can't control that I really want to control what I can. If that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And some people may say, well, you should try doing some of that. It might help control you, but that's what the medication is for, the prescribed medication. I'd like to know if you could share with me, as well as the audience, what you've learned from all of your commentary just now.
Life sucks. Get a helmet.
Helmet?
Yeah, helmet. Yeah.
How about a mouthpiece?
That's from Life Sucks, Get a Helmet is from Boy Meets World. His older brother goes, "Life sucks, get a helmet," and then he hits him in the head. No, what have I learned from that?
Yeah, I want
I don't
a life
I
lesson
don't like
from
that.
this. A Ben Barber life lesson. Because you've faced, now I'm not saying you faced the same challenges after that, but you faced other challenges, and you've come across disappointments and difficulties. I want to know what you've learned from your parents dying, your near-death experience, your hospitalization, the financial burden with not having any health insurance. What good has come out of this? Because there has been.
I don't sweat the small stuff.
Okay. But we're not talking small stuff.
No, that's the lesson. Like, that's the lesson that I took out of it, was that I don't, like,
you look at life differently.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that just fell apart. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, right. Okay, no,
like, not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Away.
If yeah, that's just like, there are worse things.
Yeah.
that's pretty much anything you can throw at me. I'm like, there are worse things.
Right. Which is good.
Yeah.
And I think an example of that, you had a nice business opportunity that didn't pan out that you thought it was gonna.
Yeah.
And it didn't consume your entire psyche of verbalization with myself. I know when I dealt with you during that time.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't even realize it, that you were just able to put it aside. And I'm giving you just one example that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I mean, stress, like, I definitely handle stress differently. Not well. Like, I don't think that I handle stress well, but different things stress me out. You know what I mean? And
I do.
And when other people bring me their problems, never an issue. Like, there's basically nothing that anybody can throw at me with, like, coming to me with an issue for them that I am super moved by, like, not moved by in like an emotional way, but moved by in like it doesn't, like,
I can't handle it.
Yeah, there's nothing I can't handle. There's nothing I'm like, oh, like, and also I'm very much of the mindset all the time of, like, family first, health first, like, to everyone else. Everyone, like, if you talk to any of the team at 321, like, if they have a cold, or like their daughter has a cold, I'm like, okay, don't work today. Like,
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. It's not a, you know what I mean?
Which is good. I think that's great.
Things break, and I'm like, okay, I'm not mad at you. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, just don't let it happen again.
Yeah, that's not me. I'm like, when it comes to my own stuff, I'm very, like, high anxiety.
Yeah.
But when it comes to anyone else's stuff, I'm the chillest person in the world. I'm just like, okay, that's okay. Listen, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. Like, it's okay. And that's,
All right, so that gives me something to chew on, so to speak.
Okay.
That you had a better outlook on life after what you went through, because you know what? Hey, these things happen, so I'm not going to be as adversely affected.
Yeah.
But we want to also recognize when it happens to you personally, with certain situations, that we handle it in a more tactful manner, maybe, as well.
Yeah. I also think I'm a big believer, even more so, which seems crazy with everything that I just said, but I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason.
I believe that.
And
bad or good, yes.
Yeah, and I feel like I have proof of that through all of the bad stuff that happened, because I can see the threads. Like, I can see the threads, and I can see why some of those bad things happened. Or I can see why some of those bad things happened, and I can see like the benefits, like I can see the silver linings and things pretty easily,
Good.
which is crazy. Like,
Mm.
like I kind of thought that it was beautiful that my mom passed on Christmas morning because she very clearly wanted to be with my dad, and it felt like a little gift.
There you go.
And like, as crazy as that
And
sounds,
it's not crazy.
like that was incredibly comforting. And you know, it was awful that they were in the nursing home when COVID happened, and I didn't get a chance to see them for the last 6 months of their
Yeah.
life. But it also allowed me time because I had taken care of them for 15 years. So it allowed me time to work on the stuff that I had always wanted to work on and make them proud. Because I went to school in '06 in New York for acting, and I had started a business at 17, and I had all of this potential. And then I came home and took care of my parents. My dad had had a stroke, and my
Yeah.
mom was sick,
Right.
and they
Right.
needed my help, and my grandma wasn't getting any younger. So like, I came home and I was like this kid that was full of potential that never lived up to it. And in 2020, they got to see like me with the governor and
Some of the fruits of your labor.
and you know,
Yeah.
I got to introduce my dad to rock stars that he loved, and like it was really cool.
That is cool.
So they got to, you know, when they did pass, I felt like they weren't worried about me, which was an incredible.
Can we
gift.
drop some names as far as rock stars? Bono,
No. Older ones.
Aerosmith,
No.
Twisted Sister.
Gary Puckett.
Oh wait, yeah.
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 Gary Puckett. Terry Silvestri from the Hollies.
Yeah.
Billy J. Kramer.
Okay. You're rattling the cage with some people here. That's good.
Yeah. So people
stuff.
that my dad really looked up to and loved.
That's awesome.
And music that I had listened to in the car with him growing up. He only listened to the oldies station. So
Yeah, it reminds me what you just basically have been saying. This show about leadership. It really starts with ourselves.
yeah.
You know, we have to lead ourselves to where we want to go. And it's not just so much leading others and letting ourselves deteriorate. That's not a good leader. You know what I mean? We need to be there, you know, on the same frequency. So you've exemplified some of that in your story. And that's pretty heartwarming.
Cheers.
Amen.
No, wait. No, it's bad luck to cheers with water.
Why?
I have to tell you, it is.
It's not. That's superstition.
It's bad luck to cheers with water. I refuse to do it.
Cheers.
That's not water.
It's what is it then? It's ice with what used to be green tea. How about this? God bless you.
God bless you.
What are we at as far as time?
Oh, we're over.
Well over. Well, it was a big
No,
show.
it's fine. It was a good show.
How many minutes?
No, we're only at 40.
No, that's not bad. So we want to be right at 40. It's good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So we're going to check in next week and we're going to talk about Veto la chamakatina mapapols. And I'll translate that then.
Now or next week?
Next week. I won't even be able to say it again next week.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Experience local excellence with Roof Right Roofing in Charlestown, Rhode Island. With over 40 years of unmatched expertise, Roof Right specializes in architectural shingles and holds the prestigious title of GAF Master Elite Installers. Known for their commitment to the community and support for local initiatives, Roof Right is your trusted partner for all of your home's roofing needs. Call today for a free estimate at 401-212-4140.
Hi, this is Dan from Lathrop Insurance. In this challenging insurance environment, Lathrop Insurance can be your beacon in the storm to help you find the coverage you need at the right price. Now, more than ever, you need a partner in the insurance industry that can work with multiple carriers to make sure you have the right coverage at the right price. Lathrop Insurance carries home, auto, and business insurance and can be reached at 401-596-2525. We've been supporting the local community since 1939, and we look forward to working with you.
What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick down here at the Wireless Zone at Dunn's Corners at 224 Post Road, and everybody down here is getting the brand new iPhone 16. We have it here in stock. The best part is right now, if you trade in your old phone, you get it for free. We got deals all weekend, awesome savings. Come on down and see us, 224 Post Road, Dunn's Corners, Verizon Wireless Zone. We'll see you soon.
D&V Mechanical specializes in the installation, maintenance, and servicing of Mitsubishi ductless mini-split heat pump systems. We are certified by Mitsubishi as Diamond Elite contractors and factory trained and up to date on the proper procedure of the installation and service of Mitsubishi ductless heating and air conditioning ductless heat pumps. We assist with the paperwork to reduce much of the stress-related documentation required to get the state rebates and federal tax incentives. We are not a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-nothing company. We are masters of ductless heat pumps. It's what we do, and it's what we know.